You know that feeling, right? You end a simple, friendly chat, and somehow you've agreed to something you never meant to. Well, I'm here to tell you that might not be an accident. We're going to peel back the curtain on the hidden world of persuasion and see how your own good manners can be weaponized against you.
Yeah, I know, that sounds super dramatic, but it points to a pretty chilling reality. The very things we use to connect with people, empathy, trust, just being polite, can actually be twisted and used as levers of control. It's all about how normal, everyday interactions get turned into a trap.
So, how does this actually happen? How can a casual, how's it going, become the first step in a chain reaction that gets you to say yes when every part of you wants to say no? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack right now. It almost always starts with something that feels totally harmless. A charity caller asking how you're feeling, or a salesperson just making some friendly small talk. This is the setup. This is what we're calling the politeness trap. See, this isn't just them being nice. It's a real, documented psychological technique. When someone asks, "How are you today?" and you give that automatic reply, "I'm doing well, thanks," you've just made a tiny public statement. You've basically declared that things are good for you, which makes it feel really awkward and inconsistent to then refuse a request to help someone else. You don't want to seem like a hypocrite. And here's the key takeaway. This is not an accident. Skilled persuaders know these scripts inside and out. They get that these little social rituals aren't just fluff. They are openings. They are literally using your own social conditioning, your politeness, against you. So let's look at the part of our brain that makes this all possible. So why are these simple little traps so powerful? Well, it's because they plug directly into a really deep, fundamental human drive, our desperate need to be and to look consistent. Think about it. We have this powerful urge to make sure our actions today line up with what we've said and done in the past. Consistency is seen as a good thing, right? It makes us look stable and reliable. So once we take a stand, even a small one, we feel this internal and external pressure to stick with it. The classic foot in the door technique is the perfect example of this in action. It starts with something tiny, almost silly, like, "Hey, will you sign this petition?" Once you say yes, it subtly shifts how you see yourself. You start thinking, I guess I'm the kind of person who cares about this cause. So when they come back with the bigger request, like for a donation, you feel this pull to say yes just to stay consistent with that new, helpful person you've become. Now, not all commitments are created equal. They become way more powerful when they're active, meaning you actually do something, like write it down. When they're public, you say it in front of other people. And when they feel voluntary, like you chose to do it freely. That's why signing a pledge or answering yes out loud is so much more powerful than just thinking it. It locks you in. But wait, it gets even sneakier. The consistency thing is all about your own self-image, right? But there's another force at play, one that's even more subtle. And this one has nothing to do with how you see yourself and everything to do with how you see the person asking. So get this, the foot in the door technique works because the two requests are related. But what if they're not? What if someone gets you to agree that, I don't know, pizza is the best food, and then asks you to help them move their couch? What happens then? Well, that's where something called the mere agreement effect comes in, and it's wild. Research shows that just the simple act of agreeing with someone, even on stuff that has nothing to do with what they're about to ask, makes you way more likely to say yes to them later. Let's just put these side by side so it's crystal clear. The consistency principle is about you being consistent with yourself. It's an internal thing. But the mere agreement effect, that's about you feeling a connection to the other person. Your brain subconsciously goes, wow, we agree on a bunch of things. This person must be like me. They're probably a good person. I should help them. It's a tiny shift, but it changes everything. And this isn't just a theory. The numbers are shocking. In the big study on this, people in the control group who were just asked for a favor said yes only 22% of the time. But the group that first had to agree with a few random statements, their compliance rate more than doubled to 45%. Just creating that feeling of similarity made a massive difference. Okay, so we've looked at the two psychological engines that make this work, our need for consistency and our bias towards people who seem similar to us. Well, these two engines power a whole garage full of different persuasion tactics you probably run into all the time. Think of this as a quick spotter's guide. We've talked about foot in the door and mere agreement, but there's also the low ball, where a great deal suddenly gets worse after you've already committed. Or the four walls technique, where they box you in with a bunch of questions you have to say yes to. And then there's the weird one, disrupt then reframe, where they confuse you on purpose to lower your guard. We won't go deep on all of these, but just knowing their names can help you see them coming. All right, so knowing all this stuff is one thing, but how do you actually defend yourself? How you stop this from happening without becoming a jerk to everyone? Well, the good news is you absolutely can. You can protect yourself and still be a good person. Honestly, your most powerful shield is simply knowing these techniques exist. That's it. Once you can see the game being played, once you recognize the script, it's like the magic trick is ruined. You're not an unwitting player anymore. You're an audience member who knows how it's done. Okay, here are 4 practical steps. First, just listen. Does this feel like a real conversation or does it feel like they're reading from a checklist? Second, and this one is huge, create a pause. Just say, let me think about that. That silence breaks their momentum. Third, make a mental note to separate being polite from having to agree. You can be friendly and still say no. And finally, if it feels weird, talk to someone. Manipulators love to isolate you. Don't let them. Ultimately, this is the whole mindset. You don't have to get into an argument or call them out. You don't need to outsmart them. You just have to see that a game is being played and quietly decide not to participate. You can just say no, and that's the end of it. And this leaves us with one final, kind of uncomfortable thought. These tools aren't magic spells. They're built on the fundamental wiring of the human brain. And the line between good faith influence and shady manipulation is, well, it's incredibly thin, and it usually just comes down to intent. Knowing how easily these switches can be flipped forces us to ask not just how we protect ourselves from others, but how we choose to use our own influence in the world.